hope he knows what he's doing. Pathlessness, wherever you look. Where is
So
this
what's so
supposed to
spectacular
be?
about this? To me, our pal here looks like your average crypt corpse.
Well, he isn't. Do you see on his forehead? That's a symbol of the Ashian, one of the two priest castes who reigned over the Pyrean Empire like the Lightborn did over Vin. He was no high priest, but more than an acolyte. Let's just hope he participated in the manufacture of the sigil stone back in the Pyrean era.
Well, hoping can't hurt. But look, we have company.
Dalvarek, Archmagister, how's the situation?
Walk blessed, Grandmaster. We're fine. Everything is ready. So this is him?
Yes, this is the Prophet.
Interesting. Truly interesting. I imagined you to be different. I'm Lexiel Merigiel, Archmagister of the Holy Order. Pleased to make your acquaintance. So, where do we start? Has the Grandmaster already informed you of the goal of this mission? Correct. Now you're wondering, how will this be possible? This is where the Word of the Dead comes into play. An old relic we'll need to find.
The word of the dead. I thought that was a legend.
No, it exists. And we also know where. Just so you understand, the Word of the Dead is an artifact that allows entering a deceased person's mind to relive his last memories as if they were your own.
And you want to do just that with our frozen pal here. This is the grand plan, right?
Right. You'll need to locate the Word of the Dead, teleport the Pyrean's body to you, and then enter his thoughts. And there you'll have to look for the words of the ritual. Well, we only lack the last words of this ritual. What you have to look for is an ornamental scroll, which looks just like the one on the drawing I'll give you in a moment. All you have to do is remember the glyphs in the scroll, then write them down once you're back in the waking world. True, but we're talking about a different form of magic. It works similarly to the forbidden school of entropy. You're telling me. I myself feel like a myriad in a toad's pond. But alternatively, we'd have to excavate every ruin on Vin and hope that some priest left one of the scrolls behind. Well, this is...
There's an old manor in Andral's West that belongs to an old collector of artifacts. We received a tip that the Word of the Dead is in his possession.
Hang on. Are you talking about this odd fellow with the puppets? The aged man from the folk song?
I am. You won't take it. It will be enough to find it. Use it on the Pyrean and then leave. You will travel to the manor with Dalvarek, wait for nightfall, and then introduce yourself to the aged man as a fellow collector of artifacts. Then you will offer him this brooch, and if all goes well, he will offer you a quarter for the night to negotiate in the morning. Then it's all a matter of timing. Sneak out of your room, look for the Word of the Dead, and teleport the Pyrean to you. A good question, but no. The aged man is special, so to speak. Even the Lightborn ordered us to let him live in peace. The Black Guardian knows why. So, if we have to trick him, we will at least do it inconspicuously, which is why you and the mercenary are well suited for the task. No one will connect your faces to the Holy Order. Then you'll flee. There must be no violence, no matter what happens. Archmagister?
Yes? Well, that is a good point. We don't know, because we don't even know what the artifact looks like. But, how goes the saying? The proof of the eating is in the pudding.
We'll manage somehow. And even if we don't, it definitely sounds like an adventure.
It's a great responsibility, be aware of that. But I have faith in both of you. Now get going as soon as you can. This mission will be fruitful. I can feel it.
And there they go. Yep, just meet me at the Myritz Tower at the Western Cliff. I'll go grab my stuff now. Huh? The scar. Well, let's put it this way. If you one day end up in a Tal Galean tavern and two 6-foot-tall Arazalian women invite you into their room, you should either damn well know who they are or make a run for it. Never heard of it? It's the capital of Araziel. At least if you ask the civilized people. Hands up. Guilty. Some rich snob had hired me back then to bring him a totem from one of the camps of the Free People. That is, the Erazelians who worship their ancestors' gods, instead of the Lightborn and live as nomads. Since you're part of Razalian, I'll just assume you know a little about the conflict between the civilized and the Free People there. The assassinations, the blood feuds, and so on. The usual, if two sides both believe they're on the right side of history. No idea how much you know about Eraziel, but the Free People have been in conflict with the civilized people, who do worship the Lightborn, for centuries now. Assassinations, blood feuds, and so on. The usual, if two sides both believe they know it all better. Anyway, obviously this job of mine originated from that feud. The totem belonged to a free tribe, and the snob wanted it in order to publicly defile it. So I got it for him. Oh, why, of course. I still cried myself to sleep months after that. Seriously, why should I? Both the free and civilized are so eager to bash each other's heads in. It's not like one defiled totem, more or less, would have made any difference. Correct. And I was a little drunk and a little lonely, if you get what I mean. Have you ever seen a pure-blooded Erazelian woman in her 20s? It's really hard to say no to that. In any case, as you already noticed, the whole thing went down differently than expected. My face made acquaintances with a table leg and 4 absolutely untender women's feet and hands. And of course, the totem was gone, together with all my clothing and money. I guess I had that coming somehow. That's what happens if you ask your loins rather than your head in the wrong situations. Yeah. Oh, whoa, such a cold world this is. I present you my deepest scars, you thank me with naught but mockery. Be damned, O impish creature. But anyway, how does the saying go? A truly beautiful face can never be tarnished. And that's why you enjoy working with me. Yeah, I did. Why do you ask?
Pathlessness, wherever you look. Where is this supposed to be?
That's a good question. I suppose in the end, it was just a hunch I had. Plus, all these civil wars in other countries didn't exactly invite one to stay. Well, I guess that depends on where you're standing. Of course, times can be tough, especially if you come to a new city or even country where you know nobody. But if you're good at what you do, which I am, there's always work, everywhere. And yeah, I don't eat God's tongue for breakfast, but it was always enough for a roof over my head when I wanted, and some other earthly pleasures. That's what life's all about, isn't it? Now, aren't you inquisitive? Let me think. I spent most of my time abroad in Kira, and also a couple of years on the Isles of Kile. And there was this mission that led me to Maiar Aranath once. Yeah, it is. I was there with a group of mercenaries. We were hired to get something from a tower in the old capital. Not a nice spot of Earth, truly. There's this fog everywhere, and with every step you take, you have to be careful the swamps don't get the better of you. But of course, that's also what makes it exciting. What am I, a traveling tome? I'm afraid I'm not a very good storyteller. But Kira's great. The people there are so much freer in their way of thinking. There are the great bazaars, the palaces of the merchant lords, and the fortress of the mages' circles. But you just have to see it for yourself someday. Oof. Different. As beautiful as the Isles are, there's always this feeling of rush and competition. Have you ever heard of the game penny? On Kile, it's not a crime if a merchant tries to cheat a customer. It's the customer's fault if he doesn't see the fraud. But if he does, the merchant owes him a token penny. Bizarre, isn't it? But over there, it's common practice.
Prophet? Let's hope he knows what he's doing.
Oh, blazes. Sorry. I know. I can't sing.
Oh, hey.
Well, well, Naya, isn't that a sight? The one they all talk about has come to visit us. Greetings, Prophet. I'm Juslan Sharon, and, as you might know already, one of the ever-renowned Neremese mages around here. What's your name? Pleased to meet you. And you have Chilean blood in you. That's a rare sight around these parts. But anyway, what brings you to me? Do you need anything specific, or do you just want to talk? What, are you asking me to teach you? From what I've heard, you know magic as if you've studied it for centuries. But sure, why not? What do you want to know? Shh, don't talk so loud. You know how our holy friends around here feel about this school. We don't want them to get upset, do we? Sinistra. It's the mightiest of the three schools, but also the most dangerous one. Which is why practicing it is forbidden on every continent of the civilized world, except for Kira. That is mostly due to the kind of eventualities it interacts with. The human psyche and the forces of life and death. Someone trained in the arts of psionics is capable of forcing his will onto others, and I'm not speaking metaphorically here. An able entropist, on the other hand, can revive the dead as his minions, and channel the energy of death. A stunningly powerful feat if you know what you're doing, and a stunningly suicidal one if you don't. This is also why only 5 of 10 students of Sinistra manage to master it. The other 5s either stop in time or end up as either a driveling lunatic in an asylum, or as a greenishly steaming skeleton. Both of the latter rather undesirable perspectives, if you ask me. So if you plan to use it yourself, just be careful. A thaumaturgist is able to alter his body and his surroundings to his liking. In practice, that means he can, for example, create magical wards between his fingertips, or send bursts of telekinetic energy towards his foes. He can also boost his own bodily capabilities, and even go as far as healing his own wounds, even though that is to be done with caution, since it strains the mind quite a lot. A very noble school, you see, but also very limited. Elementarism. If Sinistra is a Scaragian dagger, and thaumaturgy is a solid broadsword, then elementarism is a giant, two-handed warhammer. A good elementarist is able to realize eventualities in which the air around him suddenly bursts into flame, or channel lightning from the sky. A very aggressive and powerful school, as you can imagine. Most arcanists favor it above others. Someone asks about you, darling. Isn't that charming? Most people are too polite to. But I'm afraid I can't satisfy your curiosity, at least not today. Let's just say that there are more things between life and death than what meets the eye. Well observed. I'm a child of the sand, a vassal of the Golden Queen, or whichever other nickname these idiotic people around here have for us. That's a long story, and no offense, one I rather wouldn't share. I'm not a friend of wearing my heart on the sleeve. Suffice to say that I, as most of the Order, have had bad experiences with the reign of the Lightborn. Didn't we, Naya? Well observed. Well, I haven't been there in over 20 years, but I'll do my best. What do you want to know? Shock of shocks, the Queen. Chosen by Saldring to lead the country of the Sand, at least according to the Gospel of the Lightborn. Even though, in reality, she's hardly more than a puppet to the court's bureaucrats. At least, the current one. Well observed. Well, I haven't been there in over 20... Well, probably that in Kira, freedom of thought and philosophy play a much bigger role, as opposed to most other countries of the civilized world. Still not big enough, if you ask me, but a lot more compared to this place. Well observed. Well, I haven't been there in over 20... Well, not literally, but yes, most do. In Kira, people live in these so-called communes, which are... how do I put it? Well, families with more than 2 parents, 1 woman, 3 men, and their children. Or the other way around. You get the idea. Or 1 man, 2 women, or 1 man, 2 men. Not all the communes are the same, you know. It's just that the idea of eternal togetherness and possessiveness isn't a part of Quranian culture. If you love someone, you do. And if you love another person, too, that's not a problem either. I myself have always lived rather traditionally in that regard. But as strange as this might sound to you, the communes actually work quite well. Less drama, I suppose. That's different. That depends on the family. In my commune, for example, I had 2 mothers and 2 fathers, and 5 siblings. But there are communes with as many as 30 members, or some with just 3. Your place in society plays a role in that, too. Well, you could say that a noble commune generally isn't as open, and thus usually smaller. Hard to describe. Indeed. Is it?
Huh?
Remind me not to burst into tears.
Yes?
Doesn't make any sense.
Why
can't it
don't ask.
be easy?
Reconstructing the outer shell was challenging, particularly given the strange metal it is made of, but we found a way to do it. As for its inner workings and what these sockets are for, we are still lurking in the dark. This machine, it's, how should I say, different, otherworldly. I do? Thought I had gotten rid of it by now. But yes, I'm originally from Nerim. Just like you, as I've heard. Oh, I don't know. Probably because I don't have very fond memories of my time there. You know, if someone would have told you 20 years ago that one day I would be the Archmagister of the Holy Order, you'd have probably laughed in his face. It's absurd just to think of it. You know, I was a slave there. Yes, you see, I was born into a traveling group of Aeterna minstrels. I never got to know my father, though, and living that way was hard. So my mother eventually decided to burn all bridges behind us and start over. Sorry, I'm babbling. I don't want to bother you with my boring stories. Well, after some days on the road, we met a traveling merchant who gave us a ride to the next village. A small one named Sildren in the Salathan forest. It seemed almost perfect at the beginning. The place was quiet, and my mother found herself a job as a weaver in the local count's castle. One day, however, the count simply stopped paying her, and, well, when she asked for the reason, he told her that we were his property from that moment on. Just like that. Why wouldn't it be? We were just a woman and a young son, and he owned both the land and the local guard. We had to serve this Creole, that was the count's name, for 9 years. It was horrible. No one. We weren't the only slaves he kept, and the villagers were too afraid to do anything. As for Chancellor Baratheon's armies, well, I'd be surprised if they even knew Sildren existed. Pure luck, I suppose. One day, an Endralean merchant and his escort passed through the village. They were on their way to Waverock to catch a ship from there. And just by coincidence, he saw me crushing some herbs I had found in the forest. That's what I did in the little spare time I had, you know. The Salathan forest is so incredibly rich with plants you have no idea. What I didn't know was that I had found an entire sheaf of God's tongue. That impressed the merchant so much that he simply bought me. He left her there. Believe me, what he did had nothing to do with mercy. He just saw that there was money to be made off of me. I cried and protested, of course, but 2 months later, our ship arrived in Ark, where he got infected with flesh maggots and died shortly thereafter. Luckily enough, he was a sublime, and since his relatives didn't know what to do with me once he was dead, they simply asked the Order to grant me the novitiate, which they did. How the left path sounds crazy when I tell it like that, and it probably is. But back then, it just happened. I tried, but as you can imagine, my obligations made my options to do so very limited. Only recently, however, word reached me from a mercenary whom I sent over. According to him, Creole is dead, and his castle was deserted. But who knows if he just said that to appease me. I think when all of this is over, I might ask the Grandmaster for permission to travel there myself. And then, who knows? By the righteous path, now I really am babbling. I am sure a man like you has better things to do than listen to the stories of a boring old chronicler. I should probably get back to business. Forgive me. Hello.